Welcome to the Carnivore Cast, the podcast focused on the carnivore diet and lifestyle, with practical advice from successful carnivores, citizen scientists, and top researchers. I'm your host, Scott Meslinski, and I'm here to speak with experts and experienced carnivores to get answers to your biggest and meatiest questions while helping you live your best life as a carnivore. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the Carnivore Cast on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you'll help us reach more people and continue to create content on carnivore. There are also exclusive perks available, such as private Q&As, consultations with me, and more. Become a supporter at patreon.com/carnivorecast. Check the episode description for the link. Thank you, and I'll see you there. Robert Sikes is the Keto Savage, founder of the Keto Brick and accomplished keto bodybuilder. Robert hosts the Keto Savage podcast, the popular Keto Savage YouTube channel with vlogs, cooking demos, and he also coaches clients through online coaching to improve their health, performance, and body composition. I had the pleasure of being on the Keto Savage podcast, and found Robert to be an exceptional host. It's one of my favorite podcasts, and I love how Robert truly listens to his guests and connects with them and takes the shows wherever they want to go with the conversations. So welcome to the Carnivore Cast, Robert.
Man, you have way better intros than me. I'm not that good. It's good to be here.
Yeah, man, anytime. I've been following your content forever, back since, I think it was your first prep and you were like starting to talk about the Keto Brick, your first keto prep, I believe, and really have enjoyed all the amazing free content you've put out there, and just your philosophy on life and business and keto is great.
I appreciate that, man. Like, I just feel blessed and happy to be here. Like, it's been a journey for sure, and it's been just better and better with each day that passes. So I'm just happy to be here.
That's awesome. And maybe for folks who aren't familiar, and I'm sure a lot of people will but be helpful to just go through kind of your background, what brought you to keto, what brought you to bodybuilding, so folks know kind of where you're coming from and some of your past.
Yeah. So I started bodybuilding when I was junior in high school, and I was super small. I was like 130 pounds when I started, 115 pounds, I think, actually. Wow. It was pretty pathetic. I was tiny. And I, kind of fell into all the traditional bodybuilding bro diet dogma and just ate a whole bunch of food, got up to 230 pounds and competed. I cut down and just went through all these really rigorous cutting protocols, not really well formulated whatsoever, and lost a lot of weight, did well at the competitions, but I felt terrible doing so. I just lost a lot of muscle. I felt like a zombie walking around, and it just was not sustainable and it wasn't healthy. And then I kind of fell into keto by accident because I was doing carb backloading as a way to kind of find a more sustainable protocol. And I noticed that I just felt better without the carbs. So I did carb backloading minus the carbs, and lo and behold, that was keto. And I just started diving into the research, started diving into, when I started doing it, 5 years ago, there wasn't really that much content online. So I started with, I think Jimmy Moore's book, Keto Clarity, was one of the first resources that I could find. And man, and since then I just haven't looked back. The rest is history. It's keto all the way for me. Yeah,
that's awesome. And, I guess what I've found really interesting about your story is how you've gone all in on keto, making it so important to your life, your brand, your fitness, your marriage even. And, can you talk a little bit about that, sort of taking an integrated approach to keto and how that's worked for you?
Yeah, I feel like, and this goes way beyond just the nutritional protocol you follow, but I feel like in life, there's always like these lines in the sand of like, okay, this is your work life, this is your professional life, this is your career path, this is your hobbies. And I've always felt that when you have those segmented lines and compartmentalize everything, the whole suffers because you have these divided interests, you have these divided allocations of your resources and time. And for me, I wanted to make my whole life very symbiotic in nature. I wanted everything to build and add and contribute to the betterment of the whole. So, we can have a whole podcast on the business aspect of it. But for me, keto brought so much to my health personally that I wanted to create a business around it. I wanted to create a lifestyle around it. I wanted my relationship to involve it. That way, everything that I did compounded over time, day after day after day, it only built the foundation stronger and stronger. And I feel like that has been a huge reason I've been successful thus far, and hopefully will continue to be successful going forward.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're the case study of that, Robert. And I feel like every podcast I listen to with you, it always sounds like you're so mature in the way you plan out your life and your business, and your trajectory. And I'm curious, where do you draw some of that inspiration from? Have you always been really intentional about how you do things and how you plan things and thinking for the long term, and attacking things in that way? Or where do you think you kind of learned that mentality?
No, definitely didn't always used to be like that. So a little background here. I graduated college, with a business degree, thought I was going to be in like the stock market. Definitely didn't happen there, but I got a job in management at the railroad. So I was at the railroad, Burlington Northern Santa Fe, and I was managing all these people, and it was weird because they were always just miserable. Like I was like the first frontline supervisor from the union workforce, and then I was management, and then there's upper management, and it's just like everybody was always, unhappy with life no matter what. I mean, you could be at the very top of the ladder and you just were unhappy. And so I quit that because I wanted to start my own business and build something that I believed in, but I had no idea where to start. I mean, I was just totally lost. I dabbled in business, all throughout college, and nothing really ever stuck. So I walked out in the woods one day and I was just sitting there totally broke. I was like, at the time, I was like $250,000 in debt, ton of credit card debt. It was just bad. And I was totally lost. I was depressed. I had eating disorders. Like life was just a mess, man. I say that I was suicidal, and I really was, because I was in a dark place, and I was sitting on that hillside watching the sunset, and I'm like, I'm going to die someday. I have to figure out how I want to live to give my life meaning and value. I want to feel happy. I want to feel like I'm leaving a legacy. So I basically ask myself, okay, what is a perfect day for me? What is the most like satisfying, gratifying day look like? And I'm going to reverse engineer my life from that and make my day to day manifest itself to that. And that's basically kind of become what it is now. And I love every day. Like I wake up at 3:00 in the morning, every morning, super excited to start the day, super excited to get to work, super excited to be with my employees, my crew, my wife. I mean, everything just keeps building upon itself. And it didn't used to always be like that, but now that it's fashioned in that way, every little thing I do contributes to the whole. And you have that long game approach, that long game vision of where your life's going. And then you get so excited about the day to day that it's hard not to just tackle it with everything you've got.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like so many people are so far away from that. They compartmentalize everything, and, they get a little bit of enjoyment out of their hobbies. Maybe sometimes like 10% of the time they like their work, but most of the time they hate it. They're always just trying to get towards the next kind of like relief and relaxation away from work. I certainly felt that way a lot of times, just trying to get to the next weekend or the next night off or something like that. And to be in a place where you're excited about working, you're excited about getting up every day, you have this grand vision, like it just feels like you're on the totally other end of the spectrum. So I guess people listening to this who feel like they're kind of stuck in a rut, what are maybe some of the steps you might take towards getting them towards that kind of mentality? What are some small changes, or people you've talked to and you've kind of coached on either the business side or maybe even your clients, just more the mental aspect of getting towards that, feeling of excitement, waking up and, like taking every day as a challenge and having everything integrated the way you do?
It's kind of funny, man, because, like when I was going through high school and college and I knew I wanted to be involved with business, but I didn't really know the path I wanted to take, I would listen to all these business podcasts. I'd read every book I can get my hands on. The people on the other end are talking about how they just had they had all their stuff together. And I'm like, man, I'm so far from having all my stuff together. So to hear you say that I'm on the other end of the spectrum, it's kind of a shock to me because I don't ever feel like that. I feel like I've still got so many irons in the fire going at all times, that it's just very far from a streamlined process. But I will say, in order to like get to that point, one of the first things that you have to really hone in on is you have to be self-aware in who you are. And there was several years of my life where I was like always trying to appease, like my parents, my friends. I try to like fit into a mold that society deemed good. And that's like always short-sighted. That's never going to bring you true, sincere, genuine happiness. So just peeling the onions, the layers of the onion back, and looking at yourself in the mirror and knowing with absolute certainty who you are, what you stand for, what you find value in, where your passions lie, that's huge. And that doesn't happen overnight either. You got to really kind of just dive in and experiment. I mean, you got to figure out what you like and don't like, and you have to do that through practice. But once you know that, you can kind of reverse engineer from that, and then really try and play on your strengths and, integrate people into your life that build your weaknesses or have the strengths where you have weaknesses. And that's key. I mean, as far as like just tangible resources, I got a lot of my business and honestly just like mindset inspiration from a business standpoint, Gary Vaynerchuk has had a huge impact. Like his book, Crush It, made it just totally the way I think about business, and really playing like the long game, being in it for the right reasons, not trying to take shortcuts, being excited about the slow, arduous grind. Like I about that. And then from a mindset standpoint, Ryan Holiday's book, oh shit, I just drawn a blank. I recommend this book a million times. It's a book on stoicism. Wow, I cannot believe I've lost the title.
The Obstacle is the Way?
Yeah, Obstacle is the Way. Wow. I listen to that book on repeat whenever I'm going through a hard time. And that book totally shifted the way I think about day-to-day struggles. It really helps you put things into perspective, and you can use that as a resource and as a tool. And when you have that in your pocket as something you can, pull out and leverage, you really become limitless. I mean, now, and this wasn't always the case, but now whenever I'm going through something hard or a struggle, I literally just start smiling, man, because I know that if something's hard, it means something good is about to happen. I'm on the cusp of something great. Because like when you're going easy and things just happen, it's like you can ride that momentum for a little while, but you're not really growing. Like you're literally just riding the momentum from something great and hard that you've done in the past. And I feel like you always need to be pushing and pushing the envelope and working towards something that's outside of your normal comfort zone. And if you just keep getting back on the saddle and keep doing that compounded exponentially over time is how you just keep getting better and better, man.
Yeah, I love those suggestions, and those are two great minds to learn from. I personally have really loved all of Ryan Holiday's books and listened to his podcast now, and also read Crush It a long time ago. And while I haven't put as much into action as you certainly have, really found it to be a great read. And on that note, can you talk about one thing that I get a lot out of you from, Robert, is when you talk about the value of doing hard things, adversity, and struggle. What is your mindset like around that, and how do you think about that both long term and just on a daily basis when you're having a crap day, you didn't sleep well? I'm sure there are fire drills with your business all the time. How do you think about that stuff?
I mean, honestly, just knowing. I mean, kind of like what I said a minute ago, like just knowing and believing. Like there's a difference between like trying to like convince yourself but not actually believing it versus truly, deeply, inherently knowing and believing that it's true. But when you're going through hard times and knowing that it's actually making you better, that it's actually growing your business, it's actually in line with your passions, like that, when you embrace that and accept it fully, it's like a totally different type of motivation, totally different type of inspiration. When you have that burning inside of you, it's hard not to use that. I mean, there's definitely times where I wake up and I'm tired, I didn't get enough sleep, or like I'm not in the mood to work out. And for me, like, there's a quote on this, so I don't know the exact wording of the quote, but like motivation, inspiration doesn't just happen. Like you can't, like people make New Year's resolutions all the time, and they don't follow through with it because they're waiting on the motivation to do it or the inspiration to do it. But it's like that all comes after action. Like you have to start putting forth action, and then the motivation, the inspiration, and the discipline kind of come as a result of that habit built. So like if I'm like in a bad mood, in a funk, not feeling like working out that day, like I'll put on some of the goofiest workout music and I'll just like do something stupid out of my norm, totally break my cycle so I just can't stop smiling. And then I just start doing it. And then when you start doing it, that builds momentum. And then that motivates you. So like I'll do stuff like that, like little mind hacks like that. But just knowing the bigger picture, knowing your why, I mean, just sitting there and meditating on that for a minute usually gets me going pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great way to get out of those challenges and get your mind right. It's not always easy to do. And can you talk about, being, I think we're about the same age. I'm 27 years old. How old are you?
I just turned 28.
You just turned 28. Wow.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you've started this very successful company. You have this successful brand. That's rare for someone our age. Most people are order takers for the first, 10 years of their working lives. But you've earned it and you've built it. Can you talk about what it means to be a leader and own a company, and, how you think about that responsibility on a daily basis, on a more long-term basis?
So it's kind of crazy, man. I'll talk about this on a macro level and kind of on a local level. So on a local level, I have employees, right? I've got several employees now. One of them, Brandon, he's got 5 kids, his wife and 5 kids. So like it's when you have that, you have a responsibility that comes with it. And it's funny because I never wanted to have a physical product. I never wanted to have overhead. I never wanted to have employees and salaries and all that stuff. I just wanted to have an online business and be able to sit on the beach like all the covers of these business books illustrate. And that's just not the way the world works. But now that I have this, now that I have all this overhead, these expenses, these responsibilities, I'm so glad that I have it. I love it. I love knowing that I'm able to provide an environment that offers a positive outlook, opportunity, and just tools and resources to these people, my employees that I really care about. Like it's the coolest thing ever to build this gym in my warehouse and then see my employees go in there after they clock out making keto bricks and go get an awesome workout in. It's awesome to have a cookout with my crew after every successful keto brick launch, and us just be able to like bond as a team and as a family. I mean, this weekend we're literally going out on my family farm and bringing my whole crew with us. We're going to go shoot guns, ride 4-wheelers, and have a good time. And I never would have been able to build these relationships that I feel so strongly about if it wasn't for this business. So this business has been a vehicle for me to add value on a local level to people in my community, to my employees. So I'm very grateful for that. On a macro level, when I look at like what I've built and its impact on the keto community, first of all, I feel like I don't deserve any of it. I feel like any success I have obviously is accredited to the community itself because they're the reason any of this is possible. So I always try and show my appreciation and thanks there. But on a personal level, I just feel very proud that it's given me a vehicle to add, hopefully, more value than I take. Because, anytime somebody goes online, buys a keto brick, signs up for coaching, does whatever, buys anything that I have monetized, that's something that they're giving. That's value that they're giving. That's money they've worked hard for to purchase something that I've built to create it. And I just want to make sure that every single day I'm working tirelessly to add more value than I take. And I just want to live and breathe that. And I want to leave a legacy that empowers others to do the same if they desire to do so. Because, at the end of the day, I'm just a guy. And anything that I've done, anybody else can do if they set their mind to it. And I don't ever want to put myself on a pedestal or praise myself. I mean, I owe my success to everybody, and I want to empower everybody to know that they've got that within themselves to do as well.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that. I'm sure your employees do as well. And seeing some of the content you post just about the Keto Brick family seems like it's you've created a really special place, not just to work, but to have that community aspect and have that family aspect. So I think you're doing all the right things. And shifting topics a little bit, I kind of wanted to ask you some questions that hopefully were a little bit different around the mindset and philosophy type stuff. But shifting a little bit to nutrition, I wanted to hear a little bit about your experiences. I know you've interviewed on your podcast a lot of folks from the carnivore space, Amber O'Hearn, David Webb, Brandon, Carnivore King, many others, and wanted to hear about, your experiences. I know you don't eat necessarily 100% meat and animal products, but you eat meat heavy keto, as we talked about on your podcast. What have your experiences been like with that? And, how have you found that? How do you think about things like fiber and vegetables in the context of your keto diet?
Yeah, so I'm definitely, I consider myself carnivore-esque. I don't call myself a carnivore because I do eat things that are not strictly animal-based. But the vast majority of my diet is meat. So basically, but I do identify as very strict keto because I don't, blur those lines at all. I'm not ever doing, cheat days or carb loads or anything like that. Nothing against the people that do, but yeah, I'm not one of those. For me personally, I don't notice first of all, performance and optimization is of utmost importance. I want to optimize and be the best that I can be as an athlete, as a natural bodybuilder, as a businessman, an entrepreneur. I want to be the best person I can be, and optimizing my nutrition is of paramount importance for that. So I don't feel like my performance is optimized whatsoever by any types of, fiber or vegetables or salads or anything like that. I'll sometimes get a craving or a hankering for a big salad, and those rare occasions I'll eat it and I won't feel bad about it. But I don't feel like my performance improves because of it. If anything, I feel more bloated and, less optimal. But when I'm dialed in, I'm eating, good nutrient dense quality, animal-based products. I feel like a rock star, and I gravitate towards a higher fat ratio. I've done enough self-experimentation to know that I perform better when my fat ratio is typically north of about 77% of my calories coming from fat, which is relatively hard to achieve with strictly animal-based. You can do it, but it's just, there's not a whole lot of options out there. So that's one of the main reasons I've created the Keto Brick, is I can have this very high fat ratio shelf-stable meal replacement bar in tandem with meat-based products. That's why I'm kind of carnivore-esque. I'm like a meat and bricks kind of guy. I eat my keto bricks and I eat meat and I'm good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great approach. And I talked about it in your podcast, but my general philosophy is, get the majority of your food from animal products. If you're going vegan or you're going vegetarian, that's your prerogative. I wouldn't recommend it, but I think you're missing out on some really essential nutrients if you're doing that. And I think, a diet based primarily around meat, and then using other foods to enhance your performance, enhance your health, enhance your enjoyment is wonderful. And I don't think it's black or white by any degree. And I don't believe in being dogmatic about that. I think, some people, if they eat mostly red meat and then they want to have some rice because that helps them maintain their weight or helps them, perform certain activities, that's great. If you have some people who eat mostly meat and they want to eat a lot of extra fat because it gets them deeper ketosis and helps you be better at bodybuilding and running your business, Robert, then that's awesome too.
Yeah, I feel like, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, and just kind of being self-aware about your nutrition, knowing what your body performs well at, knowing what you're most likely to adhere to and sustain. I'm going to have no problem sustaining to my carnivore-esque meat and bricks with some occasional vegetable diet for the rest of my life. That doesn't even seem like a diet to me. If it does for some people, then maybe they need to experiment and incorporate a few more things. But for me, I can totally get by with that.
Yeah, totally. And can you talk about kind of keto for life. You've been keto for years now. What are some of the long-term benefits that you've experienced that maybe people don't talk about as much, who are just, getting over the keto flu or have become fat adapted for the first time. They see slightly better mental clarity, appetite suppression, things like that. But how has the keto diet evolved for you, and why do you talk about being keto for the rest of your life and getting excited about the long term?
Yeah, so I feel like this has got a lot of parallels with things, outside nutrition alone. But with keto, the more adapted the longer you're in ketosis, the more adapted you get. The better your internal engineering is, metabolically speaking, on a cellular level, to be able to use and efficiently and effectively operate on ketones, fatty acids, and just all that is the keto diet. And if you're constantly, metabolic flexibility is a pretty prominent buzzword right now. Everybody wants to be able to have this dual fuel system and be able to willingly shift from one or the other. And yeah, that's true. If you incorporate more varieties, you're going to be able to have more flexibility. But does more flexibility in that regard equate to optimization? And I would argue no. I feel like when you are very strict and really optimized for one thing, you become a master at that one thing. If you look at any of the greatest people at any trade, they don't really have a lot of time for a whole lot of other variants. They pick their craft and they master that craft. And for me, nutrition it's just that. It's nutrition. I like food. I enjoy eating food, but I don't have this crazy, inseparable emotional attachment to food. So that's not one of the things in my life that I need to just have this relationship with in that regard. I want to just optimize and be done with it. And I feel like if I optimize my nutrition and really become a master at that by being strict keto, my body becomes more efficient, my mind becomes more efficient, I operate at a higher level, and that allows me better performance in the other things in my life that I would prefer to have a better relationship, like a more emotional attachment to a more deeper meaning than just how food makes me feel. So that's why I've kind of always gravitated towards strict keto. I want to master it, that I want to be so dialed in and efficient and optimized for that every other area of my life just continues to excel as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And really interesting to hear you talk about that. And can you talk about some things you're excited about coming up? I know you've started your prep for your next show, so maybe talk about that a little bit. And also on the business side as well, what you have going on, you're excited for longer term in the next year or so.
Yeah. So I started my prep on the 4th of November. So it's been a while since I've competed. The last competition was in 2017 when I won my pro card. It's good to take a couple of years off to let your metabolism, your hormones, everything just kind of return to healthy level. Give yourself some time at a surplus to build muscle. I've done that. It's time to get back in the competition ring, so to speak. So I'm getting dialed back in. I've got no specific shows out or lined up. The 2020 schedule hasn't been released, but I'm going to be competing at probably multiple shows in 2020. So I'm excited to document that whole journey, educate people on how to do it, how to do a contest prep with a well-formulated ketogenic diet. And then, so I'm super excited about that. I feel like with bodybuilding, it's interesting, man. Whenever I go through a contest prep, it's such a stress in a good way, but it's such a stress on me mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, that all areas of my life can only get better because of it. It's kind of like classic stoicism, concept. I go through this thing, I subject myself to this hardship, and then I become better for it. So competition prep is a great way for me to just elevate my life on other fronts. So I'm excited for that for a multitude of other reasons, but from a physical, training standpoint, that's coming up. And then from a business standpoint, we're hiring some people right now. We're building a team. We're coming out with new flavors for Keto Bricks. We're going to try and work on a wholesale program so that we can offer it to, local communities. We want to offer it to more countries. We just want to make it more available. So we're doing that as far as Keto Bricks concerned. And then we're also getting into the apparel. So we've got Live Savage apparel. We're trying to do a lot more of that in-house. The less that I can outsource, the better. I like to do everything in-house. I like to just make and build and feel it all, as it's happening real time right in front of me. So we're trying to get more in-house with apparel. And there's a couple other business endeavors in the works, but I can't tease it just yet, man.
Yeah, that's fine. I know you like to go for the big reveals.
Yeah, I gotta go for the big reveals.
Very cool. I'm very excited to watch your journey, both on the Keto Savage side with the bodybuilding prep, as well as Keto Brick, and see where you take the business in the coming months and years. Where can people find out more about you, Robert? Where can they score some Keto Bricks and follow along with your journey?
Yeah, so everything me is Keto Savage, ketosavage.com, Keto Savage on all the social platforms, and Keto Brick is ketobrick.com, and then Keto Brick on all the social platforms, and you'll find me for sure.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate you coming on today. I've enjoyed the conversation a lot, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Hopefully we'll meet at KetoCon or another conference this year.
Scott, always a pleasure, man. Anytime.
Have a good one, Robert.
Take care.
If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the Carnivore Cast on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you'll help us reach more people and continue to create content on carnivore. There are also exclusive perks available, such as private Q&As, consultations with me, and more. Become a supporter at patreon.com/carnivorecast. Check the episode description for the link. Thank you, and I'll see you there. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Carnivore Cast. If you enjoyed this episode, please review on iTunes. It really helps us out. And share it with a friend. What questions would you like answered? Or who would you like to hear from in the carnivore research community? You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Carnivore Cast, or go to carnivorecast.com. You can also email me at info@carnivorecast.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep it carnivore.